So, for the first project milestone, you should have already some development environment running on your local machine and deployed to some remote server, right? Either AWS or Heroku or whatever you choose, and should support JDK. So we start off with JDK so that we can introduce JDBC and we can introduce JPA and object relational mapping. But later on, we will also talk about setting up a Node.js and a non-relational database environment as well. But we'll do that a little later. So anyway, so you should have that up and running for the second milestone. We're asking you to enhance the environment that you already have, right, with a relational database. With just introducing you lightly to hooking up Java to a relational database so that you can start programming the database, and just to get you up and running with a really simple RESTful web service. Right? We'll talk about RESTful web services a little later. See how that maps into the whole discussion on data modeling and how that can be exposed to as a RESTful service for folks to be able to access that data model from remotely. So we're asking you to enhance what you already have, hooking it up to a MySQL database, hosted remotely, connected to a Java Hello World example that allows you to insert, update, delete, really simple records, really simple table. And so that's the focus of this second milestone. Okay. Let's see, remote. Create my remote AWS. Install, configure Workshop. Also asks you to set up a Workbench. Make sure that you have an instance of Workbench running on your machine that you can hook up to the local database, as also be able to hook up to the remote database. You need to share with us your credentials to the remote database so that the TAs and myself can log in and just play around with your database, validate what you're doing. Typically, what you'll do is that you'll have a local development environment where you have a local server running, or a local phone app or whatever, and that it's connecting to a local database, right? Once you're happy with what you're implemented, you push that to some remote server where you're going to host all your data in that remote server, right? So that if I'm trying out your phone app, then I can connect to the remote database, right, to retrieve data back and forth. So we're asking you to create a particular schema and create a sample table, and to insert a couple of messages in there, some hello world messages, and then retrieve that data from a Java API. Right? We tell you how to configure that using the application.properties file, so that your Java application can connect to this remote database, and how to install the MySQL connector so that your Java application can connect to the MySQL database, and also how to add the JPA dependency so that you can use this object relational mapping library, so that you don't have to use low-level SQL commands from your Java code. Right? You can instead treat the relational database as if it were an object, right? An object-oriented class. Whatever you do to the class happens translated down to manipulation on some records in the relational database. So we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. So a lot of this is magic, right? And we'll come back to talk about this in much more detail in a couple weeks. But just follow along. We're asking you to create a really simple hello world that verifies that your environment is connected to the database. Okay. We're asking you to create a simple class, a Java class, that's going to be mapped to a table, in this case to the hello table, and then to generate a primary key to make it auto increment. So you can generate schema, right, without actually touching SQL, right? All from the comfort of object-oriented technology, right? And all the magic happens behind the scenes of converting this object-oriented world into a relational world. Okay. We also expose that data through a repository that allows the automagical conversion of object-oriented commands, such as creating a new instance, removing an instance, updating an instance, how that gets translated automatically into inserts, updates, deletes, selects in relational databases, right? And we'll see how all that works. We also ask you to expose that data model through a RESTful API so that we can test it ourselves. Okay. All right.